Hey guys, what's up? Eddie Alho here with KissAnalog.com. Hey, today I'm going to call it the best preamplifier that you probably never heard of. Something I found in my storage. I thought it was stolen along with my other stuff. So it's a QMI gain cell series. It's a GC20 Reference Standard. It's a FET PreAmplifier. And from what I remember, it has JFETs in it. Hey guys, just a quick note. I'm going to wait to power this up in another video because I'll explain why in this video. So I'm just going to do a show and tell. I'm just going to open up the top, show you inside, and got a little story to tell you too. Well, a couple of stories. So storytelling, show and tell. So if you don't want to see that, sorry. Watch the next video and I'll do the testing then, okay? Alright, just want to let you know in case that's what you're waiting for. So, a little backstory. I had a storage. I got divorced and yeah, it was a tough one. Married 13 years and anyway, moved out of state. Put all my stuff like kind of quickly into storage. Went to work for Boeing and went to work for their space military division. I was going to design a power supply for a satellite to go in space. So I put everything in storage. And I left all my audio gear. And I moved back to town and ended up getting married again. And went to my storage and all my audio gear was stolen. So I paid for that storage probably about 20 years. I had a bunch of test equipment, which right now is all packed behind you, which I need to go through and show you guys on the videos and get rid of it, sell it. And maybe I'll sell this thing. But there were a few audio pieces that survived the theft, which, and I had acquired this stuff over years and trade, bartering, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I just happened upon this and thought it was really cool. I didn't know anything about the company, still don't. And if you could tell me, I'd really love it. But I like the design of it. And I'm going to bring you over here and show you this. But here's something else. Another little story about this thing. Oh, so by the way, the storage, I never did have the guts to go there. I couldn't make myself open that garage door, that storage shed door again. It was about the size of a single car garage. And, you know, when I opened up that thing, that roll top, and saw that stack of equipment that was missing, and all my CDs and records, almost all of them, I found one box of records. Anyway, when I saw that stuff missing, had all of my test equipment in the back, they didn't touch that stuff. And so I just closed the door, and the lock was missing when I got there, by the way. So I just closed the door, and yeah, and kept paying for storage for probably 20 years. yeah, that's how hard it was for me to deal with that. But then the storage went up from $100 to $200, and I thought, okay. I mean, it really climbed quickly because they bought and sold the place a couple of different times. They did it right about the time that I had all the stuff stolen, and so it wasn't really any way for me to, you know, yeah, anyway. So, and then it was bought, or then it was sold, you know, again to another company, and then they jacked the prices way up. So, my daughter, I kind of had to wait for her to get old enough to go there clean it out for me. She took her friends, and she was not happy. It was really dirty, you can imagine. Probably 20 years of dirt. So I kind of brushed this off, and then I brushed it off again today just for this video. So anyway, that's the backstory. So I did find a few pieces, and this is one of them. I had a Audio Research SP9, I believe it was, preamp, which kind of replaced this because I thought it was so cool that it was a tube preamp. But this one is supposed to be a reference preamp. Now, let me tell you something else about audiophiles, or, you know, I thought I was becoming an audiophile back in those days. And I don't know if I like to refer to myself as an audiophile because of what that name has become. But basically, audiophile means, somebody who loves music, and so, or loves audio, right? But now it's almost turned into a religious, thing. It's like, God, people believe in power chords making a difference, for hell's sakes. So, okay, I got this other little short story here. It's something about audiophiles and the placebo effect. And, I think we all fall victim to that. Look here. I'm going to drag it over in view here. See that? That's a Kimber cable. I bought this back when I had this. They left a box of cables there. So that's my Kimber cable. Black and red, braided. Now, I believe something like that would help for speakers. And here's my monster cables. You see how big they are. And I believe that a nice interconnect makes a difference. Here's a lower cost monster cable. So I do like cables, but power cables make absolutely zero difference. Okay, so as a power supply engineer, doing many EMI tests, been doing stuff for military, all kinds of different projects, medical lasers. I can tell you, power cables mean zero difference. There's no argument there. There's no proof. Anybody that says they can hear the difference, it's a placebo effect. If they can tell me, 8 out of 10 times in a blind test that, anybody can get lucky and guess a couple times, but 8 out of 10 times, yeah, then you're telling me something. But no one can do that because they don't make a difference. Anyway, and I've got a video on that rant, which I'm kind of doing that rant again. But this preamp here has a power cable connected to it. That could make a difference just because the cable's soldered in. You don't have any joints there. So that's kind of nice. Anyway, that's the way things used to be until, for convenience sake, we made them so they're removable. And look at the size of that thing. That's all you need, is a good sized cable. And one reason it's good size is because of the length of it. Look at that. It's probably 8 feet long. It's at least 6 feet long. So, but the placebo effect. When I had this preamp, I was in North Carolina. I live in Utah now, but I was in North Carolina with my first wife. And I was on our living room floor. She was at school. She was becoming an orthodontist. And I was home. I was teaching electronics back then. And I was home with, I think, this distortion analyzer right here. I think I had this gain phase meter. I think I had both of these back then too. So I've had those for many years, which I might get rid of them. But anyway, so I was using that distortion analyzer, and the distortion on this is not super low, and which I really believe it doesn't need to be. Anyway, I, as an engineer, thought I could fix that, which I did. I made the distortion like that, 0.002 or something like that. Made it so you couldn't even really read it. A lot of it had to do with feedback. And it still had great gain and it had bandwidth and all that kind of stuff. Didn't mess with that. But I was able to cut back down the distortion. So I had, a pretty nice audio system. And what I did is I modified one side, the left-right channel alone, or vice versa, I can't remember which. And so my wife just happened to come in the door about the time I was starting to do listening tests. And I'm like, man, that sounds so much better. Oh, God, I really did a good job. And she came in and she's like, what you doing? And I'm like, oh, just playing with my preamp. And I said, what do you think? And she's like, sounds different. I'm like, yeah, pretty good, huh? She goes, no. And there goes the placebo effect. I wanted it to sound better, so I thought it did. And she goes, it sounds like, it's not as open. It's like, it's like a harness around it or something. It just doesn't sound as vibrant as it did. And I said, well, hold on a second. let me change the left and right channel back and forth. Okay, what do you think? This one, that one, this one. I'm not going to tell you which, I didn't tell her which side that I had modified. I said, okay, listen to this one, listen to this one. I went back and forth. And as I was doing it, I could hear the difference. And I was like, and as I did it several times, I started realizing, yeah, I made it sound like crap. It was just like she described. It was, I couldn't hear the noise. There's a little bit of a noise at real low levels that I could hear, especially when the music would stop and the next track would come on. That went away on the one channel that I fixed. But the one that had more noise, when the music played, you didn't hear that noise. You just heard really open, vibrant music. And, you know, people talk about the soundstage and all that stuff. It just sounded like there's a band playing there. And the other speaker sounded more like the band was in this little closet. And so, yeah, it's funny that I learned firsthand what the placebo effect did to me. So, there you go. There's a story. Okay, you're back to the video again? Okay, I'm going to come over here and show you this. Now, what I thought was so cool about this, let me show you something. And I'll show you up close. See the back side? That's where the magic is. That's what I thought was so cool. Being a power supply engineer, I thought, wow, that makes sense to me. Individual boxes, mono blocks. So this is a monoblock preamp. You got left and right channel, whichever one you want to make left and right. It's mono blocks. And the power supply is separate in its own box. So its own like Faraday cage, right? So you have cages, you know, around each one. And you have these nice twisted, shielded cables coming from the power into the preamp. So there you go. If you want to make a difference in your sound, it doesn't matter what this is as long as it's large enough gauge. But if you regulate the power supplies, that's what makes a difference. Put them on a separate board so none of that noise from the power supply can cross over into your sensitive electronics. Preamps, a lot more sensitive, so pretty cool. Pretty neat, right? I'll bring the camera over, show you close up. We'll take the tops off and take a look. Alright guys, so here is this preamp on my bench. That's what it looks like. And pretty cool, huh? Has, you know, it's monoblock, so you got your phono, aux, and tuner, and your source, pass, and tape, and your gain, right? 0 to 50. So, and these knobs are metal, they're machined nicely. And we got an LED over here. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's the power button. It's been so long I forgot. Yeah, there's the power button with the LED built into it. But, yeah, there's the knobs right there. Everything's still a little bit dirty. I need to clean it up a little bit better. Here, let me show you the back side. This thing's kind of heavy, actually. It's 19-inch rack mount. You know, has the ears down here so it can mount into a rack, right? That's kind of like the standard 19-inch rack. Now, if you notice over here on the phono input, it has the chassis grounds right next to it. And they look like they're gold plated. Nice little banana jacks so you can tighten your wires in there. And your aux tuner and your tape, output and input, and your line out. Okay? But look at your power supply. What does that say? MDL 1/2, MDL 10. So it has two different fuses in it, 1/2 amp and a 10 amp, it looks like. That's kind of interesting. It says 1200 VA max. So I guess you might hook a phono player and your preamp, or you know, some of these devices like your tape player or whatever. Felt like something's loose, but they're all tight. But yeah, and here's your shielded cables coming in to the preamp. I think I put these little bumpers in here, these little washers, to kind of keep any vibrations and to keep, you know, keep them from wiggling around. So I think that was my own little modification. Now I took out the screws, and what's funny is you have to kind of get on an angle to get to the screw, And in the front, there's two, but the lower one's not installed because you can't get to it. So I was wondering how I was going to get to them, and they're not installed. And then on the bottom one, the top one's not installed, but they are in the both screws are installed on this, you know, on the back end here, but just not on the front end there. So when I open this, it could be filthy dirty, could be critters living in it, who knows. So I'm going to take the power supply box off first if I can. Oh, not too bad. I mean, it's sealed pretty tight, so I was hoping there wasn't going to be any critters inside there. You know, I'm going to move the camera closer and look at that, but first let's pop the lid of this one and take a look at this guy. Wow, look how clean that is. Man, I kind of forgot what these things look like. You know, I think I added this film cap and that Elna to this guy. I think I did. That looks like the kind of thing I would have done. Being a power supply guy, right? I want to do some filtering on this aluminum cap. But look at these really nice pots. These function switches. I mean, really nice. Probably Bourne's made. Here, let's take a close look at the power supply, okay? Alright, guys. I'm going to tilt this up a little bit so you can see down in here. So that's that power switch. And then we have these 4 capacitors. And look at the name on those. Fracco. They're 470 mic, 50 volt. And then we have some transistors down here. And then we have some on these heat sinks, it looks like. And then we have this big old cap. It's 1000 microfarad, 200 volt. And it's a TSU. You know, I'm not familiar with either one of those brands. They sound German to me. And then here's a MEPCO Electronics capacitor, 100 volt. Oh, it's a 1400 microfarad. Okay, and then we have these devices with these gold tabs. And I got to tell you that I don't know what those are. Haven't seen, I mean, it looks like copper tabs. They look gold, but they're copper tabs, I'm assuming. And I don't see a reference designator right now that gives away what they are. If you guys want me to do a little reverse engineering and draw a schematic, I'll do that. It'll take me some time, but underneath this capacitor, there's some resistors and stuff like that. Here, let me see if I can bring this up so you can see. Yeah, can you see underneath that capacitor? Sorry about the movement, but I'm kind of holding the tripod camera and the preamp. Okay, guys, sorry, I'm back. Down here looks like a solid state relay, that big old block down here. And we have a little transformer to power up all this stuff. And there's a little resistor, looks like, in line with that fuse. That must be for inrush current. That's that 1/2 amp fuse. That's probably to power, I'm trying to see where that wire goes. I think that's it for this little transformer. And then the other power cord, I think, goes into this solid state relay down here. Okay, guys, I'm going to try to lift up this so you can kind of see this back plate here. Kind of see how that's all wired and put together. So we can see our shielded power cables. Yeah, so guys, it's interesting. There's a left and right channel, but then we have 2 different types of caps. So it's almost like, yeah, there's some, this is the only difference between the 2 channels. So yeah, I wonder if there's repair work and one of these was a new cap. I don't know. Okay, let's go over to the other board. Alright, guys, and this is the preamp, and it looks like these are identical circuits, but they're really not. It looks like this one's flipped over. This one says phono down here, and this one says line. And it looks like, when I first looked at this, it looks like they just took this circuit, flipped it over this way so that the line could come in here really short. Here, I'll show you something here, how this signal comes in. Alright guys, I just kind of zoomed in here so you can see the ground terminal here goes right up to this, and if I can lift this box up, kind of see that capacitor down there that's tied right to the input signal. So I don't know if that's a capacitive input. I mean, capacitive coupled. All right, so yeah, we're back. Now, this blue one I think is a big tantalum capacitor, and then these little brown ones are film capacitor. That's a film cap too, this little square guy. And then these round things here, they look like non-polarized aluminum caps. It's possible they could be, no, I think that's what they are. And then the brown thing there, that's just resistor. It looks like some diodes. And I think these are JFETs, this metal can, and these two guys. So it seems like back in the day when I think I even reverse engineered this back in the day when I was trying to fix when I was trying to improve it. Now, look at these REFA capacitors, 6.8 microfarads. These are the hot thing back in the day. Today, film caps cost a little bit less, but man, these things were revered back in the day. Now, I think I added this. This looks like something I might have added because I think I have a box of these. And that Elna capacitor, I probably added that trying to improve the ripple on this capacitor. And then over here on this side, same kind of stuff. It almost looks like the exact same circuit, but you see these caps here. I don't see those over here. So instead of this cap, it looks like we have a film cap. It looks like, and then there's 3 resistors, and then this device, and over here, it looks like a slightly different circuit. Yeah, at first glance, they look like the same circuit, just 180 degrees out of phase. Now, see these parts here? I think I added those. Those look like the kind of capacitors I would have, like. So I think these are Rotorstein capacitors. Seems like I have a bunch of caps like that. And these might be Rotorstein resistors. And it looks like I might have added those to this. So I don't think this is part of the circuit that I felt like it kind of screwed up the sound on the feedback. But now I'm not sure. I'm sure I would have set the circuit back the way it was. So I think I left the things that I felt like may have made improvements that didn't change the feedback. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to reverse engineer this again to kind of come up with a schematic to see what that looks like. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know, because it'll take me some time to do that. Otherwise, I'll probably I might do a video where I power this up and try to restore the capacitors like in a nice way, and then take some tests and either decide to sell it or keep it. But yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing what the circuit looks like, I'll go do that too. Just looking at the routing in that, I mean, they kept the circuits well apart from each other, so there's no crosstalk, that kind of thing. And this is all the ground. You can see it going to the ground side of the caps and to each one of these input terminals. And then it all comes over here to this one ground lug, and then swarms up here and kind of spreads out for each one of these channels. But it looks like the signal, it must be on the other side of the board. It kind of shows you the silk screen, kind of the signal path going up here for each one of these. So that's kind of an interesting way to do that. And the phono just goes real short right into this. You can see the little path right up here. It looks like it comes right into there. So I think this capacitor over here is just a filter capacitor. And it looks like the signal actually comes right up to there. And then the line looks like it comes right up to here. But I'm curious what is on the other side of the board, what these are soldered to, and those things. And also this. I'm curious what those things are. So I'm going to have to undo all these things and undo all the front panels to get the board out. So what do you think, guys? Interesting? Should we do some testing? I was thinking about doing some testing on this video, but I want to kind of make it short, and I've already blabbed a lot. The other thing I need to do, because this has sat for so long, I need to revive the capacitors, and I just need to make sure that they're reconditioned as well as possible before I turn it on, and I can show you that if you want me to make that as part of the next video, okay? But if you want a video on this where we take some measurements and I show you how to power up one of these things after they've sat for so long, at least a safer way, I can do that too. So let me know, give your comments down below, and yeah. Alright, thanks guys. 2 thumbs up to my patrons as always. Appreciate you guys. Got so many videos to come out, and you guys have helped me a lot. And the guys that hit the thank you button down below, that new button that YouTube added, that's a way to do a one-time donation, like buy me a cup of coffee, that kind of thing. Appreciate you guys that have hit that. And hey, welcome. I've got a couple new patrons. That's pretty awesome. That's kind of a slow growth thing, but that's really cool. You can hit the link down below if you like that. But I've got a bunch of stuff to show you guys, and I was thinking about having a show and tell series where I just kind of show it to you, and if you want to, like, me to do more videos or, you know, test it and that kind of thing. But yeah, let me know. Maybe I should do a quick test on this. I'm thinking I should. Some people will probably be upset, but I do need to power it up correctly, and that takes a few minutes, but I thought I could make that part of the video, which makes the video a little longer. Anyway, I'm already jabbering too much. So, alright, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.